Well, good afternoon, all you folks out there in land of Facebook, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube. I'm Lisa Norell. Happy Friday, October 9th. We work with marketers and leaders to help them accelerate growth and innovation, and I've been hosting these live streams for the last several months. Today is a very exciting day because I will be introducing a terrific guest today, Catherine LaCour, who will be joining us shortly. So as we invite you in here to join us today and participate, know that we're going to be taking your calls and we'll be taking your questions. We're not taking your calls today. And we're very pleased that you're spending your lunch hour with us. I also know we've had some people joining in from places as far away as Dubai and Singapore. So I will say to you in advance, good morning and good evening. So let's talk a little bit about the situation that are facing a lot of marketers and leaders today, which is confusion and breakdowns in communications with customers and stalled pipelines. But we're going to be tackling these challenges today in our 40 minutes together because we need to help you optimize your impact. COVID has certainly changed the rules of buyers and sellers interacting. So let me, before we start, read you an excerpt from my latest book, The Mindful Marketer, which will give you kind of a sense of grounding for today's discussion. So as many of you know, The Mindful Marketer is a go-to resource for not only CMOs and marketing leaders, but people who want to improve their relationships with their CMOs. Many experts want us to believe that improving revenue performance should be the number one priority for both sales and marketing leaders, and that both groups need to operate from the same instruction manual. So yes, we want to agree on ideal strategies for demand gen, sales enablement, and account management, to name a few. But just managing by the numbers, especially in today's short-term mindset culture in the Western world at least, can not necessarily foster great leaders. The great marketing and sales leaders additionally focus on things we're covering today with Catherine: customer conversations, behaviors, and setting the right environment. So that's why I'm very excited today to welcome Catherine to our session. So let's add Catherine and welcome her. Catherine, hello.
Hi, Lisa. How are you doing? Can you hear me, Lisa?
Now I can hear you.
Awesome. Great. I got nervous for a minute. The joys of virtual.
The joys of live stream.
Yes.
How is everything in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina today?
It is beautiful. Actually, we're having a beautiful day. It's sunny out, and really, really just happy to be here with you.
Well, you are a seasoned technology and marketing leader. I mean, you've been around for a couple of years, and you've really shaped the brand at Blackbaud as their chief marketing officer. What has the past year been? I'll say 7 months. How have the last 7 months been for you as a leader, overseeing so many spinning plates?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's like everybody on this call. I mean, it's been unprecedented, right? I mean, I said this, actually, I think it might have been to you, Lisa. I've said to somebody, boy, coming out of this, we as marketers talk about being marketable, given what we have learned and lived through, just not only from an operations standpoint and pivoting operations pretty much on a dime, but also to leadership and management of teams in a pandemic, and in a time where we as a company, had 3,500 employees go remote overnight, and then all of the employee engagement and culture challenges that came with that. So it's been, it's been a challenge, but it's been one of the kind of most amazing learning times in my career, frankly.
Yes. Oh, you could, that would be like an understatement. I have been learning at a rapid pace. I never thought I'd be live streaming and having to learn so many new features and network performance standards and things that I never thought I would need to learn. But here we are, we're standing tall and we're making it through the storm together. Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear from you. What we were going to talk about today is what marketers need to know about sales during COVID. And I need to ask you, though, this is the Mindful Marketer live stream. How do you personally, because you and I've had a lot of great informal discussions about mindfulness, how do you bring your mindful practices into your daily life and your work?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love this, the concept of being mindful. I really sit in it as being kind of as intentionality, right? What is waking up every day, and whether it's in my personal life, being mindful or intentional, or in my professional life as well. And it's really that intentionality that takes the forefront in terms of my approach to marketing. And I think it goes back to, frankly, where we started, is how do we as a marketing function discipline, or within the marketing organization in your company, how do you adapt a learning culture that starts with listening? Because I think to be mindful, it really does start with awareness, right? And that can come through listening to your market, to your customers, to your stakeholders, your employees, your competitors, and then adopting this, kind of reflect, rethink, and reboot. Right. I feel like the companies that are most aggressively adapting and extending new ways of operating and thinking are the ones that are going to stay leading edge, are the ones that are going to turn this crisis into their advantage. And so that adaptation and that resilience is going to create the most value. And I think to be able to adapt and to be truly resilient, that mindfulness intentionality is so important. I mean, I think it's the resilient employees we want, right? Those that are inherently positive and optimist, have optimism, and those that can, create clearness out of chaos, and those that can adapt and be flexible. So, when I think about mindfulness, and I think about how in marketing, how to really practice that, it really is about looking at what we've learned. It is looking at then how we apply those learnings and pivot in each of our discipline areas so that we're better serving our markets. We have a better customer journey. We have real authentic connections and engagement with our prospects and customers, and with our internal and external stakeholders.
Yes, and you really touch on one of the 5 qualities of mindful marketing that I talk about in my book, which is being able to adapt. And, breath is such an important part of mindfulness, and you have to breathe in flexibility and breathe out what I call tradition.
Oh, I love that.
Because to me, tradition is a form of control. Like, well, we've always done it this way. You have the business development representatives reporting to you. And, you could argue, well, of course, we've always paid them based on number of appointments, or number of deals that are in, sales qualified status. And I know we're kicking around a lot of terminology here that may or may not be relevant to some people. But it's important terminology. But you kind of put tradition aside when COVID hit and started to rethink your model, your framework, your compensation. Tell us a little bit about how what you looked at.
Well, yeah, I mean, we looked at, with specific to our BDR team, we didn't change, I'd say, the comp per se, but we did adjust goals. And we really halted an overt selling motion at the beginning of the pandemic. And so when you're a business development rep and your job is to be on the phone all day, taking leads that marketing is giving you and qualifying them and setting up an appointment for your sales team, and we tell you to stop selling, you're going to worry about your paycheck, because we're paying you on those those meetings that you're scheduling. One of the things that we do as an organization is we also pay our business development reps on the number of contacts that they update or add to our database. So contact data health is an important discipline in our organization. And I think if I can remember, our BDR team has added, I think to date, about 70,000 new contacts. And those have added over 11, I think, 15 million in pipeline just from those added contacts. So it's a really important discipline. So we sort of pivoted and we said, let's not kind of be overt in our selling, but get on the phone, talk to people, listen, right? See what they need, see what they hear, and get their contact information updated. And we put a little bit more weight there. And, just through those conversations and pointing people to some great resources we've done, we've built some really goodwill. Just reaching out and touching, how are you doing? Not trying to sell, that I think we're actually beginning to see the fruits of now.
And what things are coming to fruition now that we're in month number 7? What is shifting not only for your BDRs, but also in the way your customers or prospects are connecting with you?
Yeah, so I probably, like everybody, we saw this crazy level of engagement at the beginning of the pandemic. Our engagement was, for us, at an all-time high. I think during March, April, and May, we had about a 200% increase in our webinar registrations. We had a 55% reg to attendee conversion rate, and pre-COVID industry averages 25, 35%, and about a 45-minute watch time. So our top of the funnel was booming. It was booming, but we did have some stalling. And, we heard from a lot of our customers that they wanted resources. They wanted free training, toolkits to help them navigate this as they pivoted their missions and their operations online. And they were really looking to us as a thought leader. And so we really leveraged this ask. And we, helped to continue to support our customers in a new, different way, and really promote that our brand in a different way, frankly. We put out a record number of white papers, of best practice webinars, as quickly as we could get them written. And again, we held back from that salesy marketing approach. And we're seeing, like I said, we're seeing this begin to change. I think the stall we've seen, actually, particularly in the last month or two, we begin to see the velocity of our funnel begin to pick up again.
Well, that's exciting. Tell us, pre-COVID, who was your perfect buyer, your senior decision maker in a typical account? And has that shifted at all during COVID?
So our buyers vary by vertical, because we're in a bunch of different verticals and markets, and it varies. But we're a tech company, so normally we, it could be the CIO, it could be a development officer, because we focus in the social good space for nonprofits, foundations, but we're on the higher ed, so it's the advancement officers. So our buyers haven't changed, but our buyer behavior has changed. And I say that because we're always on now. I mean, I know you probably feel that. I feel like I'm working probably longer hours than ever, and our buyers are always connected. And so what we're actually having to pivot is the way that we are talking to the buyers or interacting with them or getting ahead of them and their needs, because they are always on. And, I don't remember the exact stat, but it's something crazy, that 75% of the buying journey or buying decision is done before they even talk to a salesperson, right? And so, our ability to better personalize, to better segment, and to move to a more kind of conversational marketing rhythm has been really, really important. And then to leverage the place where these buyers are going, because they're going to third-party forums, they're going to blogs, they're going to communities, because they want to engage and get more information now up front than they ever wanted before.
Yeah. So how do you best equip your sales teams and your marketing teams to take on more of a conversational stance? That's not, I mean, I had to take 2 months worth of comedy improv classes to get this right. And, I believe there is an art to being improvisational that can translate into conversational in how we deal with people. And man, the last 7 months have been like one big improv for me.
I love it.
So how have you equipped salespeople to think like an impresario or an improviser versus a person reading from your traditional sales scripts?
Well, I mean, lots of training and script writing, but I will tell you, to be honest, we've taken sales out of the conversation in a lot of places. So, one of the things about people being always on is tech is now more than ever at the forefront. And so we have done a lot of work in putting that conversational tech piece up front, where we have our technology having the conversation. So we actually deployed a best-in-class conversational marketing platform that's converting our website visitors in the form of a bot assisted chat and automated appointment setting with our BDRs. Which is working incredibly well. I mean, we used to rely a lot on forms to convert, say, digital traffic. And while our forms were down about 40%, the amount of chat is, again, through the roof, just like the engagement. People are engaging in a different way. So it was really important for us to be able, we actually, to give you an example, I think it was 4th of July, we had a CIO come to our website and go to our bot chat, end up scheduling an appointment. We closed the deal 2 weeks later. And it's because my BDRs aren't online on the afternoon of 4th of July. They're out having a beer, right? Like,
you would hope so.
I would hope nobody's working. But because we were there when that buyer was ready, in the way that buyer was wanting to engage with us, we were able to convert that buyer. So it started there. It also started with, back to where we started, in kind of reducing that overt sales motion, right? Giving our sales teams value-added content and research that was helping our customers pivot. How to make the best out of virtual events, how to have a better virtual fundraising. So we were there as consultants, as partners, we didn't have them go in as salespeople. That's really, and again, that's why we're top of mind. Oh, hey, you called me and you gave me that white paper, and God, that helped me. Thank you. I really got to talk to you now about how I X, Y, and Z. So that's where we really pivoted, and we've seen a lot of good downstream impact from.
Yeah. And speaking of events and white papers, you just had your annual conference, which you affectionately call BBCon.
Yes.
At Blackbaud. Talk to me about what felt different and how you were telling me last week the total number of people who attended or signed up. Yes. Staggering numbers. Staggering numbers. Tell us about this.
I should joke that there's like champagne in my thing, not water, because it was huge. It was amazing. So we do BBCon every year, and we were supposed to be in Seattle this year, and it's always in October. And we had to, of course, pivot to virtual. We normally get, let's call it 3,500 attendees. We closed yesterday with over 38,000 registrants. We had, in some of our sessions, over 60% register to attendee conversion rate. The feedback was, best BBCon conference ever, no matter the venue. The feedback was, and we made it free. I should note that our in-person is not. We actually made this free. We also normally have 3 events, one in Asia Pac, normally Sydney, one in London, one in the US. We combined this, so it was a true virtual conference. We had people that loved the opportunity to network. And, the learnings that I took away from it was, content is king. I know as marketers, we say that all the time, but audiences are looking for life inspiration. They're not just looking for standard conference content. And, virtual fatigue is real.
Oh, yes.
You can't be cookie cutter. You have to inject fun. You have to be creative, and you've got to provide a virtual experience that creates connection. And that's what we strove to do. And I think we hit it out of the park. The other thing, in terms of my big takeaways, was the importance of being transparent and authentic, and not being afraid to be vulnerable and to discuss the kind of relevant topics of today. We couldn't ignore the state of our nation around race and diversity. And we had actually Dr. Cornel West came and spoke. We couldn't ignore that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and our anxiety, and we're all a little bit more nervous now. We had Dr. Mark Brackett from Yale speak. and he was fantastic and set the tone for a really open and vulnerable place for all of us to come. And you should have the chat. People were sharing really personal stuff because we created that environment. And so I'd say, I think I'll be interested to see what happens between all my marketing friends out there, what happens with the leads coming out of this, because that's a TBD. Will they convert as well as people who are in person with us? But my God, I think we created some amazing brand halo coming out of this event. And a huge shout out, or maybe shout out, but a huge lesson learned too is if you're doing a virtual event, the platform is so important, but you have to define that experience first. And then you've got to you find the tech to support it and make sure that they can integrate, because we did that. We sat down and we said, here's what we want to happen. Then we found the platform, we made sure they could integrate all the pieces, and it was really seamless. So, but it was a great event.
And what will you do going forward on a more permanent basis now that I've given you all of 48 hours to learn all your lessons from BBCon, from 38,000 registrations?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's been a joke with me and my boss, my CEO, because we're like, man, 10,000 people, maybe 15,000. He's like, you're the biggest sandbagger ever. So now after the end, he was like, so what number are you signing up for next year? And I was like, well, I can tell you what number I'm not signing up for is 10,000 attendees. We'll go bigger. But I think virtual's here to stay for a while. I think that we're going to look seriously at another virtual event next year. Eventually I do think there is value in the in-person, and there's probably a future hybrid model that will allow us to maintain the same reach, but have that in-person feel, that family and community and connection that we love about our event. Other than that, I would just say, the biggest thing is just we'll continue to embrace, frankly, the imperfect face-to-face works, and it's those imperfections that make events real. And we're just going to continue to really strive to create a very different experience in our virtual events moving forward, and try not to be just a cookie cutter event.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, we know too, just from some data that I heard yesterday, about 30 to 40% of the executives they've been surveying are actually not permitted to do business travel right now.
Yeah.
So there's still a sizable number of people that cannot physically travel.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's not going to change overnight. We're going to be seeing some things go into 2021. The good news is that I think there are at least 3 drugs now in phase 3 of clinical trials. I hope that's consistent with what you heard and from the Yale doctor. So this is definitely not a loon shot or a moonshot. There are some very encouraging news on rapid discovery and rapid production underway for the vaccine. And
when we look at, I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
So I was going to say that, plus people starting to learn more about extreme self-care and how it builds our immune systems is also a key factor as people are working and living from home more than ever. What were you going to say, Catherine?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that, I think we're all aware, and realistically 2021 is not going to be business as usual in any way, shape, or form. And even as we're looking at our planning, it's different scenarios. Okay, we're back to life as we know it halfway through. We're not back to life as we know it all the way through. Because I think that while we might have a vaccine, people are still going to be recovering. There's going to be a hangover from this year, whether that is budget pressure, whether, it's just the way people have switched their operations. So I think we're going to be navigating this for a while.
That's great. I want you to know we have Tim from South Carolina joining. We have Joyce from San Antonio, Texas, and Mark DeVito. Hey, Mark. Great to see you here. Mark's from the DC area, a CEO, asking, what are some of the best platforms you've seen for virtual events right now, Catherine?
So I'll just speak from, we looked at a bunch, and my events team would really be the the experts here, but we ended up going with Freeman. So we had used Freeman for our in-person. They knew us well. And one of the things we liked about them was a lot of the other platforms had band pricing on the number of attendees. Freeman was on the content, so we could have as many attendees as we wanted. And since we had no clue how many we were going to sign up, that was important to us. Freeman then had some partners that Zoom is obviously a partner, Grip. We use Swogo for event website, and we use Hub for our content management. So those are the platforms that we've used, and Freeman hit it out of the park for us. I'm happy to endorse them because they did a great job, both in live sessions we held, in recording sessions where we went from recording to live. It was seamless. So that was a great platform, great partnership.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on all of those successes. And I also want to remind people that we were planning on hosting our CMO's Leading Innovation Conference with you in beautiful Charleston, which is now, I think, voted the #1 best city to live. Yeah. And unfortunately, we just made the call that we're doing small CMO breakfast virtual events until we know our CMOs are able to actually travel.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, next year will be an interesting foray into hybrid gatherings of some ilk. We just don't know yet. So yes, you're welcome, Mark.
Yeah, good. And it's at our new headquarters too. We were really excited to host you, but we've got it on the back burner. We'll rain check.
Absolutely. I'm in this for the long haul. So, we'll get to it. I'd like to shift a little bit. This isn't my favorite topic, but a number of our CMO clients are doing a great job of generating good content, awareness, brand refreshes. I'm busier than ever. My other creative and strategic consulting peers are busier than ever. So all of that is going really well. Where I'm hearing the stickiness is happening is seeing prospects getting into the funnel where they're down into creating an initiative and actually making some purchase decisions and evaluations. Tell us what you're seeing and how you're addressing that.
Yeah, I think that we saw the stalling, like everybody else. And I think that we, it really goes back to the way we've been engaging. We did have, we had some customers that we see them getting back into that buying behavior now, which is great. But, back to sort of the tech stack, we've spent a lot of time over the last 2 years really putting in, I'll call it our modern tech stack at our organization. And, now we can do things like send trigger-based emails that are driven by our customers' engagement with us, so that we're actually kind of help nurturing them in a much more personalized, segmented way through the funnel. We've also done things like partner closely with our finance and our product marketing to do pricing specials. We did a buy now, pay later. We offered some free financing. And I think both of these motions have helped us move our pipeline a bit. And as I mentioned before, we used to really rely on forms, and we're really have switched over to that conversational marketing platform to help convert. And that's really helping us, at the top of the funnel as well. And, we drive a lot of accountability in our sales framework or our sales process. So we are actually looking very closely at every stage. And so we could see, okay, we have a little bit of a stall between SAL and SQOY. We went in and did the research. Yes.
And so we get a lot of international listeners. So I just want to make sure we define SQL is sales qualified leads.
Yes.
And what was the other stage you were mentioning?
SAL is our sales accepted lead. So we've had a lead come into the top of the funnel, which we then qualify in the marketing team. And that normally we'll have a lead will come in, it'll hit a trigger in our lead scoring. That then goes to one of our business development reps who picks up the phone and actually qualifies the lead. And if it's qualified, then they'll set up the appointment. They'll send it to sales will accept it. That becomes SAL. Then sales at that point, it's in their hands. And when they have the conversation, they qualify it. It would move to a sales qualified opportunity. And then from there down to, win close. So, we look at that really closely. And, but we've put measurement in place where we can kind of go in and troubleshoot which stage seems to be stalling. And then we back out and why. And we actually had a very interesting aha in the past few weeks that I'll share is we actually realized we had some salespeople that were closing deals straight from SAL. And so we were missing that step. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And so now we've just gone back. And again, because we're really driving a partnership and accountability between marketing and sales, we're working with managers to make sure that the sales is following that step so that we know what's working, what's not working, and what the actual velocity is through the funnel, because that's what's really important as well. So having the ability, having our AI and BI in place that allows us to measure, BI in this case, measure our funnel conversion has been really important.
Because that certain step was circumvented.
Yes.
Did it prompt you to reevaluate your sales framework?
Yeah, only in that we realize that how important our service level agreements are with sales, that they follow them, right? And it's not even about pointing fingers, because again, this is a partnership with sales. But it's about kind of dusting it off and reminding of accountability. And we actually have meetings every week where we partner with sales and look at, I'll call them exception reports. Where are things stalling? Why? And we want that feedback loop. And sometimes that's a really important step that's missed. Like, we don't do everything perfect in marketing, and I can't fix it if I don't know about it. I can't address, some stalls if I don't know why they're stalling. So, I think just that really reinforcing the accountability of sales roles and, marketing and how it's this partnership, that's really what it calls to mind to me, is we just have got to make sure that we're holding each other accountable to doing our jobs so that we're each successful, by the way, because that's the goal at the end of the day.
Yes, I love that feeling of we're in this together. I think that's our global wish for everyone watching this as a society, but it's also important now for sales and marketing. It used to be more of an exception, but now it's a must. That yes, we're in this together. Let's get our incentive plans aligned. Let's build an actual service level agreement, which, I learned about from Tim Hill.
One of my favorite people.
One of our favorite people who actually introduced us.
Yeah.
And he educated me on this years ago. And even to this day, a lot of our CMOs don't even know what a service level agreement is. So I do want to just show something very quickly, because I know we're not going to have a lot of time to cover this, but I love what you created with a sales leadership framework. Is there anything here that really has, what I'll say, cemented your relationship with sales in ways you didn't expect?
Yeah, and let me, a few thoughts just to level set. And, this one, we call this a framework because it's really this underlying management system that we use to help drive, consistency across our sales team, to drive diligence and focus on what's important in the sales process. And then that data and analytical piece, right? That's helping to drive that partnership and accountability. And this was not something I created. This is something that the organization created as part of a sales kind of productivity project where we came together and built this. And I'll tell you what, the one thing that was most interesting to me as we partnered with the teams in the development of this is, if you look at everything that's highlighted in blue here. So this is a sales framework, but everything in blue is owned by marketing, supported by marketing, or marketing participates in. Right. And so it just, for me, it goes back to that mindset that this isn't sales and marketing, or even worse, sales versus marketing. Right. I mean, I know this is, at the end of the day, around simplification, transparency, and a best practice approach that is undergirded by measurement, by tools and analytics that allow us to be accountable as a marketing organization and a sales organization in partnership. Like, this is in partnership. I won't be successful if sales isn't successful, and they won't be if I'm not. And so this was just a framework that we've used to be really transparent, clear, and apply that best practice approach to help drive, just sales productivity, sales effectiveness, and frankly, marketing productivity and marketing effectiveness across the board for our organization.
Well, I appreciate that. And if people want to connect with you for a little more detail, I want to encourage them to look for you on LinkedIn so they can also follow you. I have a question. We also have Drew from DC. And Drew says, thank you, Catherine. Can you talk some more about how you and the team have defined your customer experience, in a mindful, intentional way, and then executing upon it?
Yeah, so I love that question, Drew. Thank you, because we've spent a lot of time as an organization looking at, I'll call it the customer journey, right? And we've actually defined our customer journey in 5 stages. So we have our explore stage, purchase stage, get started stage, realize value, and renew. I can't believe I got those off the top of my head.
Did you have a lot of coffee or tea today?
I am riding a high from BBCon, so this energy is all about an amazing event this week. And one of the things, that I'll just highlight, right, is that marketing plays a role in every single stage, right? So we look at, the explore, how am I piquing the interest of my customer? To the renew, how am I renewing? Should I renew? Help me renew. So what we've really looked at is as a marketing organization, what is our role that we can play at every point in that stage, and then created the experience that we want at every point. And what's been great is that this has been a partnership across the organization. So we work really closely, again, with sales. We work really closely with our customer success teams, with our support teams, with our product, our RDO, we call them RDO, which is our research and our development team. So to make sure that we're all in lockstep. And we started this customer journey or customer experience by identifying, we call it our compass. And if anybody is Disney fans, some of my team went down to the Disney course. The Disney's got a compass. And we kind of use that model to create our own compass, which is what are the 4 kind of main points of customer experience that we wanted to create. And then we looked at how we create those at each step of the customer journey.
That's great. And customer journey, I think what I've seen shift that I want people to know, if they forget a lot around customer journey, is that 2 years ago, customer experience was really treated as a very separate organization in most of my client accounts. So when I was out doing keynotes or writing about this or advising our CMO peer groups about it, we always had to pull in the head of customer experience. And sadly, there were silos. But what we're seeing now is the convergence of those functions. Yeah. And I'm finally seeing a breakdown and a redesign of the old traditional funnel mindset for marketers. Now it's, how do we create the infinity sign as a true representation of our customer relationship? And to me, that's exciting.
It is, and that really resonates with me, Lisa, because when I think about, what I'm really looking at for 2021 and my organization from marketing, it is about change. We've been a very lead gen focused organization. And, we're really working to create a mindset where every marketer not only has that lead gen mindset, but they have a retention mindset. Because again, the lifetime value of that customer is post sale, right? And that's where the value comes from. And we often, I think of it ending at that sales point. And so we really are spending a lot of time on relationship marketing and creating the whole engagement throughout that journey and making it as personalized as possible.
Yeah, speaking of which, we have a CMO breakfast coming up, a CMO virtual breakfast. So if anybody's interested, I encourage you to get in touch with me because it will be global. We have people signing in from Singapore, South Carolina, San Diego, and Washington, just to name a few. So I want to just mention to people that we're going to be doing that because we're going to do things very differently than we did in the past. And you can read about it on my blog, but we're going to literally deliver gifts in advance to the people participating to get them in the mood for a breakfast with a few little surprises. because even if they're not clients of ours, we want them to feel welcome, just like you did with the people at BBCon. So it's time to be creative and clever at every stage of the relationship. Well, guess what? We're coming up towards the end. I want you to know that Tim Hill just sent me a comment. He said, thanks for the shout out. I am a huge... And he said, I'm a huge fan of you both. That's fine. We know where to send our checks.
That's right.
And he said, this is great stuff. I hope you're going to be recording this to share later. So the answer is absolutely, we will share this later. I've had on one of our live streams, we had 3,000, we had like 100 people watch it live, but then we're up to like 3,000 downloads or views later. So these do have good legs for people to watch later with their teams. Well, what is something, Catherine, I forgot to ask you today?
Goodness. Well, I mean, I can give you maybe some of my key takeaways from this year. I think 2020 has tested everybody's boundaries. I think that, though, as being in the tech space, rapid innovation is imperative to success. And I think that this year exposed areas for all of us where we need to move faster and innovate with greater intentionality, and to be able to address the most urgent needs of our customers and meet them where they are. And, I frankly think, and we started there, but, I think what we've learned from this kind of pressure cooker of an environment is actually pretty intuitive. And I think it's that we find our greatest success when we listen first and then act immediately following in a lot of cases, particularly today. And I think that we're going to see, it's going to be all about speed and qualification and responding to leads. It's going to be about conversational marketing coming to the forefront and how we engage. And I think while I think we're all probably a little tired right now, I'd say that I'm also incredibly inspired by, what we've learned during this time, and by how much potential we have to deliver an exceptional experience to our customers and prospects. And to say, not only we want to work with you, but we're listening to you. And I think that's what customers really want at the end of the day.
Yes, they do. And I want to just remind people that Monday is World Mental Health Day. And what the work you're doing, Catherine, not only changes the world. You don't just change the world, which is a big task, but we are helping and to refill in a positive way the hearts and minds of our customers and giving them reassurance that they matter and they're being heard. And to me, that is the core of mindful marketing right there. So if people forget everything else I contributed today to this conversation, I hope you'll remember that this is your chance to step it up and really take that challenge to heart.
Those are beautiful words to end on, Lisa.
Thank you. I had 2 big cups of coffee today, so I'm on fire. I want to thank you again, Catherine. I can't wait till we have you back next year for our live stream. And congratulations on a year well spent to you and all of your marketers at Blackbaud.
Team sport. It's a team sport. So thank you for that. And thank you to everybody out there. Be well.
Yes, thank you. And I want to remind people that we are going to be scheduling another live stream coming up very soon, next Friday. We run our live streams the first 3 Fridays of every month from 1:30 p.m. to 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time. So we trust you'll be able to come and join us next week. Actually, next week's going to be kind of cool too. I'm going to be live streaming from Atlanta, Georgia. And I've taken the live stream on the road. And I'm going to be hosting with Robbie Baxter. She's the best-selling author of The Forever Transaction and the Membership Economy. And if you have any questions about anything related to subscription businesses, building a membership model, she is the global guru. So you will not want to miss it. So join us next week on Customers for Life. And remember, it's Friday, and remember to get out in the United States. If you haven't done so, get out, register to vote, go vote now, drop off your absentee ballot. It's an exciting time to not just be a mindful marketer, but to be a mindful citizen. Wishing you all a sane and healthy weekend ahead. Thank you.